Welcome to this presentation. I thank you for coming to the presentation of this EDUCON conference. The title of this paper is The Psychology of Learning from Machines, Anthropomorphic AI and the Paradox of Automation in Education. This is a work I've done with Muhammad Mumtaz, who is from National University of Sciences and Technology, Islamabad, Pakistan. I am a professor of computer engineering at Qatar University. My name is Junaid Qadir, and this work is partially funded by a QRDI grant noted on the slide. So these days we live in an era where we find a lot of content is AI generated, and we are readily using the services of AI chatbots. And many of these chatbots, they have human-like features, and they are trying to imitate the conversational style of human beings. So we explored in this paper the promise and peril of using anthropomorphic AI. So when we say anthropomorphic AI, it is AI that looks like human beings, that speaks like human beings. And when people deal with these AI algorithms and machines, they might have this impression, or they might be deceived into it, or they might have some sort of psychological response similar to what you have when you interact with human beings. So we will study what is the implication of this in education. So let me start by stating the core tension here. The main idea is whether we humanize machines and our algorithms, and whether we get them to act in ways that emulate human actions and speech and human responses. It's a design choice. And when we make this design choice, there is a tension here that while we may have some benefits with it, the drawback is that if you humanize machines, the educational process itself may become dehumanized. So that is the core tension which prevents us from wholly adopting anthropomorphic AI. In some cases, it's very useful, or at least it is more efficient in some narrow sense. However, there are also various side effects which we must be wary of. So we will try to highlight that. The main issue is that we have to think about what metaphor are we using to understand AI. Previously, technology, it was simple. It was like a tool we use. It's not as complex as modern technology, especially AI technology now is no longer just an instrument. It has a certain agency of its own. And sometimes some people are calling it like a virtual or an alien intelligence. So in that way, it is not just an extension of your agency. It's something you are interacting with, and it's like more complex than the kind of technology we had before. So we may think of AI tutors or chatbots as simply an instrument that we use for accessing information. These are tools we go for information, and their output we just consume and evaluate. The learner remains the epistemic authority, which is just fancy jargon for saying who gets to have the final say. So in this sense, the AI is like a search engine. It provides you information. However, you still remain in charge. But when you are dealing with it like an agent, like you're dealing with a teacher, especially this paper talks of learning from AI, which is now a contentious issue because traditionally this has been a very important relationship in society, the student-teacher relationship, or the relationship of learning. So we have to think about what are the necessary guardrails we need to put on the use of AI as a teacher, as a tutor, especially when it is having and demonstrating anthropomorphic features. When we deal with it as an agent, it's like a virtual partner with a social presence and apparent understanding. And then there is this risk that you are no longer in charge. You begin to defer to this AI. Now, the danger is that AI really has no understanding. The way these statistical models are built, they are not really understanding the content, but they have been trained to produce responses that are helpful. They are very powerful. They are trained on massive amounts of data. So in a very real sense, they are distilling the human information that has been culturally accumulated over the years. It is, in a way, distilling whole libraries of information. But at the same time, there is no epistemic authority there. There is no person there. So the AI cannot be held responsible for any hallucination it does, for any incorrect answer it produces. And you see this in all tools. When you use them, they have always in fine print, they will have something like AI is not perfect. So you should use it with caution. So the key issue is that AI in education occupies an ambiguous position. If you use a chatbot or an intelligent tutor based on modern Gen AI technology, or even if you use agentic AI, it is a little bit of this and that. It is a little bit of an informational resource, but it is also an agent that you are dealing with. So if we think of the problem of anthropomorphic AI, there is this risk that people will start to attribute personhood to this anthropomorphic AI. This may be subconscious as well, and especially when people who are using this are not completely aware of the way such technology is built. So in this paper, we actually used a methodology that tried to learn from all of the fields that have tried to look at this problem, but from different angles. So there is a lot of research on automation, and about trust calibration, skill erosion. When you rely too much on automation, what happens to the skill of people, which is very important in education, because education is not just about acquiring information, it is also about skill enhancement. And education is not just intellectual, it also deals with embodied cognition and acting out in the real world. And expertise is not just rule following. So all of those factors come in when we study automation psychology. There is also the field of human factors. And in particular, there is a famous paper by Bainbridge who has highlighted that when we use automation, we sometimes end up worse than how we started. And in many cases, the very skills that you need to supervise automated systems, they are eroded by relying on automation. So there is this tension here where you want to use automation, but using automation also ironically bites you back. There's also the field of human-computer interaction, and now we have the field of human-AI interaction, human-agent interaction, agent-agent interaction. And one interesting thing that we have seen is that people, they have this tendency to anthropomorphize technology. And it's not only about modern AI, but also with very primitive technology, we have this inbuilt tendency to look things in forms that are related to humanhood. So there is also the point of parasocial attachment, which can be thought of as one-sided social bonds. We deal with anthropomorphic technology as if it's like us, but this interaction is one-sided. So there are some harms that people have identified with this. And then the philosophy of technology, the philosophy of knowledge, epistemology, all of these things, they have interesting things to say about AI and about automation and about education. So we tried to bring ideas from all of these fields into our paper, and I hope you would like the synthesis. Some key issues we have found are, we have seen in the literature that there is this problem of trust calibration, which is the idea that people, they tend to trust some things a lot, especially novices, new people, beginner learners, they tend to uncritically accept AI output. And sometimes there is this AI halo effect where you tend to think that anything that is produced by AI is perfect, it's objective, it's not subjective. However, people have highlighted how algorithms, when they operate under such a misplaced understanding, actually ends up causing a lot of harm. There is also this algorithm aversion where people, especially experts, they over reject after a single error from an algorithm. So algorithms can be good in many ways as well. So we actually need to take a both-and perspective where we try to use the positive aspects of algorithms and rule following, but we also know that knowledge and education and real life is complex. So there are places where you need to have humans involved, and there are places where you can use technology, and the right balance is actually to be found dynamically in a context-dependent manner. There is this can be summarized as an expertise paradox. Novices, they over-rely, and experts, they under-rely. Another aspect that is identified through our synthesis is the idea of anthropomorphism and how it's used in HCI. And we see that it's a design lever. You can use it for your advantage, but at the same time, especially in the modern capitalistic society, you have huge corporations that are very powerful. And when they begin to use this design feature of anthropomorphism to attract people, to persuade people into certain actions for their profit purposes, then this becomes problematic. And there are also ethical issues related to anthropomorphic AI, which we highlight in our paper. The main idea is that the warmth that anthropomorphic AI can demonstrate can enhance engagement, because it's not simply a cold robot now. It's like a person, it talks like a person. It can even show empathy, mirroring a real expert human teacher, or even more than a normal teacher would actually be demonstrating. So it can be trained in various ways, but the same warmth can distract from learning, and it can foster inappropriate parasocial human attachment, linking you or the student with an AI with an unrealistic understanding and attachment, and in fact, disengaging the person from other learners, from the teacher, and this can have many negative consequences. There are automation ironies as well. The main irony I've highlighted, that skills, they can degrade through disuse. When AI always is relied upon, you do not use your resources as much. So Bainbridge was not talking about AI, but the general idea of disuse identified by Bainbridge can be applied in modern context as well, that if you do not use a certain skill, the skill typically atrophies and weakens over time. So the approach we used was, we did a synthesis. So I did a review of the various fields of knowledge related to this area. And my co-author is actually involved in YouTube video production as well. So he was interested in looking at how we can use YouTube videos. And we were interested in seeing how well AI-generated content is doing on YouTube, especially in the educational domain. So we looked at various channels, and we found that most of the work is not on engineering education as such. However, we were able to find some engineering education websites, mostly related to tutorial content. And we then compared it to some of the sites which are purely AI generated, in which you might pit one AI against another AI, and there are many new possibilities that emerge through the use of AI. These days, you might know that you can completely automate the pipeline, and with some supervision and quality assurance, you can create very informative videos. And so we identified a few channels. Two of them represent AI debates, and two of them represent engineering education, which is mostly human created, but partially, obviously, there would be some technology, but it's not the same AI generated debate style followed in the earlier two channels. So we used various common methods for sentiment analysis, for temporal analysis, and we had some interesting results. So we saw that AI generated debates, they have interesting patterns of engagement. So sometimes these AI debates, they are on general philosophical topics. Sometimes they may be covering belief-related issues. Sometimes it's socio-political. When it comes to moral issues, we have the maximum polarity. And if you do a sensitivity analysis, as we present in our paper, you see an almost perfect polarization, especially on these value-laden topics. We also did comment analysis, which we will present later on. In general, when we look at the comments, we observed interesting patterns. So in engineering tutorials, there was this impression that this is because the presenter was not an AI. So people were expressing gratitude. They were writing praises, which was emphasizing the pedagogical clarity, things you express in a student-teacher relationship. However, in AI debates, there was no comment or very few comments directed at the creator. It was mostly engaging with the idea, not the AI entity, not the creator of the video. And we found interesting patterns when we observed how many of the comments were humorous. So sometimes audiences would make ironic jokes about AI debating in morality. And even though there would be some sort of implied anthropomorphic impression on the part of the users as well, but then they would comment on it in a humorous manner, especially on the videos related to morality. The key implication here is that we need to understand that the audience, they already intuitively recognize AI as different in kind from human educators, and AI-generated moral ethical content produces near-complete audience polarization, but it remains to be seen whether this reflects genuine disagreement, deeper engagement, or a risk to dialogue, and it needs to be used and designed with careful consideration. We also looked at sentiment over discovery time, and we found that these channels have distinct patterns. Obviously, we had a limited scope within this paper, but the two exemplar video channels that we used for purely AI debate-related material and the engineering tutorial-related material, they had very different styles of engagement. We do describe these temporal patterns, which we have benefited from the expertise of my co-author. We found out that the comment style is very different as well. Engineering tutorials is very matter of the fact. Usually, it's like a casual observer who's not very engaged. They come and they write brief task-focused questions, mostly technical queries. But with the AI debates, you get the people to emotionally involve. And lots of comments are longer on average. So an average comment is like around 90 words. And audiences are seeking meaning. They are engaging philosophically. They are making more sophisticated comments. So in a way, there is this real possibility here that we can use AI, including anthropomorphic AI, with careful design, obviously with some guardrails, to ensure that we benefit from this increased engagement. But what guardrails should be used, it's not very clear at this stage because not many people have explored it. The open question is whether, we know that in education, warmth can help. And there are places where more warmth is good, and there are places where it's not good. For instance, the way people were interacting with engineering tutorials was they just come for the thing they're looking for. And if you are very verbose at that time and you try to start up a conversation, the people apparently won't like it. So it might not align with their learning goals. So how much of a conversational style is needed, and whether the educational AI should use such human-like features or not, this is a question that we also need to explore more. So the design principles from this work that we propose is that firstly, anthropomorphic warmth is not neutral. We should design it intentionally, and it's not necessary that more of it is always good. You can use it to engage the students more. However, it can distract from technical learning as well. So maybe we should design cues for the task, not for maximal engagement. Also, when such engagement producing design is used by for-profit companies, we should be wary of that, and there must be appropriate guardrails on that. The second principle that emerges is to have our students trained on the critical AI literacy that's needed to understand that these AI tools, they are not persons, and we should not attribute personhood to them, because when we understand these AI tools as persons or even as perfect persons, it might have negative consequences with your connections with real peers, with real teachers, and it is going to, in a way, skew your perception of reality. The last design principle we propose is that AI use in some domains may be more appropriate than others. And engineering education is a very vast area. We teach many different courses. We have scientific courses, engineering courses, mathematical courses. We have ethical courses as well. So we need to look at where we should be using anthropomorphic AI. So through this work, I hope you come up with interesting insights through this paper, and we welcome any feedback. And I would like to finish by thanking you for your attention, and I look forward to receiving any feedback. My email is noted on this slide. Thank you very much for your attention.